In this video, I'm going to talk about the best possible ways of opening and closing a set. Hopefully, depending on what kind of a style of comedian you are, you're going to approach this very, very differently. So I'm going to give you as many options as I can, and maybe it will uncover something hidden from you that you might want to give a go in the future and benefit from it. So let's dive into a little bit of detail and theory. It's obviously so important to stand out from all the other comedians on the bill. And the best way of doing this is to start your set a little bit different than everyone else in the room. Pay attention to how all the comedians are walking up on stage and grabbing the microphone. Most likely they're grabbing the microphone with one hand, they're lifting the mic stand out of the way and they're setting it aside. That's a perfectly fine way of doing it, and then they go in to deliver either their opening joke or they say hello to the audience and then slowly start into the material. All perfectly fine. If you have a well-written joke already, by all means keep using that and you don't need to really change everything else, especially if that opening joke sums up what kind of a comedian you are. However, even if you want to get the attention from the audience a lot quicker, I would suggest to approach the stage in a more unique way than other comedians are doing on that night. And also, I would suggest to close your set a little more unique than the other comedians are doing that night. Now, sometimes opening and closing a set in a very unique way might not be beneficial to you on a pro level gig, like at a comedy night. Find that the comedians on those nights tend to start with just addressing the audience and speaking and going into a little bit of detail. But at an open mic level, when you're just finding your feet and you're figuring out what kind of a comedian you are, I would urge you to be as absurd and crazy in your approach to stand-up as possible, because this is where you really have a blank slate. You can go crazy with it. It's an open mic. Like, everyone's there to learn, everyone's there to just find their feet. And I think by taking large risks at the beginning of your career is going to stand to you later on, because you might uncover some absurd way of approaching the stage that really works well for you, that gets a good laugh from the audience very, very quickly, and you kind of like being that kind of madcap character. Or else you even start your set before you get to the microphone and you just start talking to the audience as you're walking through them. All of these things can be played with. You don't have to just walk on stage like everybody else. As soon as it's your turn to perform, the performance starts from as soon as the MC announces your name, very, very badly, most likely. It's all about hooking the audience's attention from the very, very beginning, as soon as we possibly can. Another way of opening up your set is to do what I call a relatable icebreaker. And this is how I usually start my set today. Before I get on the stage, I will jot down a few funny things I've noticed about the venue, about the room I am performing in, something I can say at the beginning of my set. By making fun of something I observed in the room, like the lights or the seats or how uncomfortable or how comfortable it is. Is the venue a nice room? Is it not? Where is the bar at? Is it upstairs? Is it expensive? Is it not expensive? All of these things. Is the venue easy to get to? What was public transport like? Every single person in the room has already experienced all of those things. And so if I can jot down a few funny things to say about it, well, then I think I'm on to a winner right from the get-go, and I haven't even had to perform any of my written material so far. And the best thing about this is most comedy venues are rooms you can very easily make fun of, especially at an open mic level which you're most likely performing at. They're usually performed in some dump at the back of a bar that's never been used, and the door creaks as you open it, and the seats are all really uncomfortable and they're far too close together. Meanwhile, there's loads of more space that's not being used. All of these things can be made fun of, as long as you keep it nice and short, nice and punchy. These only need to be one-liners. It's not a whole bit you're doing. It's just 1 to 3 observations about the room, just to break the ice. Another interesting and quite possibly funny way of opening a set is to confuse the audience with the information you give them. If you say your name is one thing and then maybe later on you can admit that it's not, and that what you said you did for a job you now don't, and this gives the illusion that you can't trust anything you say. And if you do it in a funny way and make a few punchlines and get a few laughs out of it, not only do the audience know that you can't be trusted in what you say, but that's perfectly fine and forgivable because everything you say is funny. So you can offer them a very absurd job title of what you do, something that is funny and quite not believable, and then you can lead them down that path that say, no, this is really what I do, and give all the description in the world, and then at the end say, that was a lie, I'm sorry, I just lied to you. Now, I choose to say that was a lie because I don't like going on stage as a comedian and saying, I'm only joking. Everyone knows you're only joking about everything you say up there. But have fun with sometimes not telling the truth. I hear all the comedians all the time saying, oh, I want to be true to myself on stage. I want to only do truth. Now, that's fine. Everyone wants to be true to themselves on stage. But that doesn't mean that you're not allowed to have loads of fun completely lying to the audience, making up all this ridiculous job titles you do and ridiculous places you visited just yesterday and ridiculous relationships you have with celebrities. You can say anything you want. It's your time on stage. And yes, they mightn't believe you, but if you give them enough detail and if you make it plausible enough in some weird way and then say at the end you're lying, it's going to be funny as long as you can find the funny in it. There's going to need to be punchlines in there, no doubt, but it's an area that's very creative. It's a lot of fun to play with. And it's certainly a unique way of walking on stage. And it gives the audience this illusion that you are really not taking yourself too seriously up there if you're going to come swinging out the gate with all of this absurd lies. And then you can go into your written material about all the boring things you do in your day-to-day life. Next, we're going to move on to the finale of your comedy set. I'm going to give you a few ideas. Let's dive in. I think the strongest technique in closing a set is to do a callback joke or a callback piece of material. Now, I've explained this in the channel before many times, and I think most people know what a callback is, but just in case, a callback is when you refer to a section of material you've already stated on stage. Now, it can be done from any angle. You don't even need to still agree with the point you made earlier on. But if you have a point you've made already about being at the gym and you come to a conclusion about something in the gym, well, a callback would be to say that thing from another point of view later on. You're just tying your set together, because when you move on to another topic, people generally assume that that's over and they forget it. And because they're currently listening to you, they've completely forgotten about the last topic you had because they want to hear what you have to say next. So by using a callback is a very surprising twist, and it brings back all of the information and all of the laughter you had connected to that material earlier on, as long as you can do it well. And of course, like I always say, consistency is key. If you just start putting callbacks into your set, no matter how long your set is, you're going to get better at using them. And the best way of ending a short set at the beginning of your career is to do a callback, possibly to the first thing you say in the entire set. Or maybe you said it halfway through the set. It doesn't matter, as long as there is at least one, preferably two or three different topics in between your original material and what you're calling back from. So tie up the set nicely, get an extra laugh, and then you can thank the audience and finish your set. Another way of closing your set is to do in reverse what I suggested at the beginning to open your set. I've already said you can approach the stage in a very unique way, different than all the other comedians. Well, you can leave the set in a different way compared to all the other comedians. You don't need to finish your set before you leave the stage. Again, it's your time to get creative and use the entire space. Not just the stage, you can use all the space. You can put the microphone back down on the stand and talk to the audience as you're walking away. Now, I will give you advice here. If you're going to do that and have a subtle ending to this set, or if there's anything you have prepared at the end of the set that does stand out from the norm, always tell the MC on the night you're going to be doing that. Because otherwise, you run the risk of the MC grabbing the microphone and screaming into it, saying, please give a big hand for, and you're in the middle of a short monologue at the end of your set, halfway through walking to the audience, and all the comedy subtle humor is gone. That's not a sentence, but you get the idea. You don't want another MC ruining your set, because if there's one thing an MC will do is ruin a comedy night. So if this video has done anything for you, it's to urge you to look at your entire set from a different point of view, from a more energetic and creative place, and approach the stage and finish your set and leave the stage in a more unique way to stand out, especially at the beginning of your career when you want to be as creative and as vibrant as you possibly can. Even if you're a deadpan act, this can still apply to you. You should be still trying to portray what kind of a deadpan act you are and still being as creative as possible. So there is no limits, there are no rules, and I urge you to get up there and be as creative as possible. That's the rant for this video. Over. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you have learned at least something from it and that your set is now 3 to 5% better. So go and get booking on that next gig. I'm out of here.